Hi, welcome to Liberty on Caffeine. I'm Will Detmering, and with Jeff Harper, we're going to be bringing you the last kind of regular show of the year. This one is dealing with the Treasury, the Fed, and money and the solutions that we propose, because we've already gone through a little bit of the history and the problems that have gone through. And today is 12/12, December 12th. 2020. And I just want to briefly talk about our last show of the year is going to be next week on the 19th, but it's going to be our Christmas, New Year's celebration, kind of celebrating the end of a disastrous 2020, and talk about the kind of recap the weird year that we've had, and girding our loins for anticipating what's going to be coming up in 2021 through 2025. We're going to have a big, long battle with the progressives and socialists here coming up shortly. Jeff, how are you doing this morning? I know you're trying to grab a little bit of breakfast and do some changes here.
Yes, doing well. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Like I was telling you off air, we were kind of having a weird morning. My StreamYard's been glitching up. A lot of things were deleted off of it and had to rebuild it. And we've also had some disturbances here in our little neighborhood. So if we break off early or something because of technical glitches or things that are going on in our neighborhoods and so on, you'll understand why. Anyway, we're going to start the show right after we come up with our intro.
We want to get it on because we don't get along. We want to get it on because we don't get along.
What up? What up? Oh, yeah. Well, here I stand with the mic in my hand, and I will pray to the Lord. I do the best that I can, cause in a world where possession is a question of a man's word, but we all are the same. So I'm sticking around, and I'll be dropping it down. I'll be kicking my sound as I can smoke it. Never put my guts to make my family grow. I'll be just me out of this one more time, and I say, can you help me? Can you help me get the hell out of here? Can you help me? Can you help me get the hell out? One for the money and two for the show. Three to get ready to bust down. You're doing it. The one for the money and two for the show. Three to get ready to bust down. You're doing it. The boom boom pack of my crew got so loud. I never ever quit. People hitting like a tap with the boom boom pack of my crew got so loud. I never ever quit. People hitting like a tap.
Oh, here we go. We already had a little bit of a goof. I was glad that you popped up right in time.
That one's on me. I'm on a phone because my network card's bad on my computer. And so when an application activates in the background, I get a message or a phone call. I disconnect, and I apologize.
But not a problem. Don't apologize for a thing, especially today. It's kind of atypical for what's going on in our in 2020, and it's kind of good that we're doing our wrap up. One of our last dialogue shows, I guess you would call it, for the year. You've already come up with, and I'm not going to give away some of the prize, but you've already come up with some really interesting topics starting for 2021. We're already starting to do some of the research and so on. I've been trying to get a hold of a few people as guests to come on and to join us. If and I highly suspect that it will happen, if the left is now going to get rid of all of their narratives and false dramas and so on, we'll be able to open up and be able to travel again, and we'll be able to do some things remotely and live, get to tape a few things. You and I have discussed doing some man on the street things and some other interesting things. So 2021 should be good in that respect. We've got a couple other things that we're going to be raising our flags on. But today we're going to be talking, getting back to our solutions for the economy and so on that's going on. And to kick it off, I've got a little bit of a video I want to share. It's with one of yours and my favorites, Thomas Sowell, talking about what to do with the Fed and his ideas behind it. I don't know if people are able to hear the audio on it. I can't understand why that's not shared. Okay, let me see if I can increase it on here, and that helps. Does that help at all?
No difference at all.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just go ahead and.
We need to work out technical difficulties on an off day.
Yeah. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand why it's not sharing the audio with it. I think it has something to do with some settings I have on here. But one of the things that Thomas Sowell talks about, and he kind of surprises people. I'll put the link in for that video, but it's from Floor TV. If you go ahead and Google Thomas Sowell, the Fed, and look for that Floor TV clip. But one of the interesting things that was on it, he caught the questionnaire kind of off guard by saying he would just get rid of the Fed. And one of the things that and it really blew the mind of the questioner, especially at the time that this discussion came about. And the question then was responding back, well, what would you replace it with? And Sowell said, I really have gotten confused about that question. He said, if you got rid of a cancer, why would you replace it? And I thought that was an excellent summation, so to speak, of getting rid of the Fed. People are kind of confused and worried about what we do to replace the Fed. And this is just kind of an illustration of how Congress tells the Treasury to take care of money, and then everything's funneled through the Fed after the Treasury to the banks and to the people. We never used to have this portion of it. And it used to be just Congress, Treasury to the banks. And he was pointing out the history of what went on before the Fed, and that it was bankers and industrialists that came forward and had the solutions. And it scared the progressives of the time, because they were like, wait a minute, you're making a solution and it works, and you're doing it without the government and without our blessing, without our fingerprints all over it. And I think that paranoia is kind of what helped bring the Fed about. All the things the Fed was supposed to take care of, to solve, to eliminate, it never did. It's never been able to do that. And it's never been able to protect America, its currency, and its current currency values. Anyway, enough of my pontificating. What are some of the things that trouble people with the solutions that are needed in today's U.S. economies?
I think it's a combination of lack of understanding of the alternatives, and being born and raised into the system that's been in use. Mm-hmm. So, familiarity goes a long way with a lot of people. And then the school systems don't really teach the methods that were used before. Economists talk about them. Finance people will talk about them. You'll hear about Austrian economics and, the gold standard and property rights. The money that you earn is actually your property. These basic concepts that people don't understand, and they fear them because they never researched the results. One of the first things I look at from a policy or a law is the results. Mm-hmm. The intent is one thing, but what actually occurs is completely different. Now, you mentioned the fact that the same things are occurring today in after the establishment of the Federal Reserve Bank that they really didn't achieve anything. What they have managed to do is control when these events occur to a greater degree and to actually use it to their advantage.
Yeah.
With natural market forces, the things happen naturally and they're unexpected sometimes by people and expected by others. When it's under the control of a private company, the interest rates and the printing of money, then they also can control the rise and the falls in the markets, and they'll use them to their advantage. They'll buy low, they'll create false lows when there's the most money invested that they can take out, and then buy it at the false low and watch it spring back up. So the interest rates are so low, you don't have anywhere you can invest your money. You can't put them in CDs and get a return that's greater than the inflation rate.
Yeah.
Stock market's hitting record highs. Where are people going to stick their money to try to get something out of it? And once there's enough money invested in it, these guys will artificially crash it to steal your property. That's the difference between the natural system and what is in existence today. And that's what people fear. People fear the natural market forces, but trust private banks. There's something wrong there.
Oh, extremely, extremely. And we touched upon the different types of banks and how people they don't understand that there are kind of two schools or two separate banks that are out there. One is the savings and loan type of banks that we're used to, and what most people think about, where it's depositors that fund the bank.
The simple way to explain that is that you have the banks you deal with, and then you have the banks that those banks deal with.
Mm-hmm.
They go to basically the Federal Reserve Bank to borrow the money that they lend to you. And so that interest rate that you see set by the Federal Reserve Bank isn't the interest rate you get. It's the interest rate that the banks get that are loaning you the money.
And the banks are they're funded by investors, people who actually make money on your money through the banks. Those are investment banks. Yeah.
Federal Reserve Bank is privately owned. We only know about half of the people who do own it, but they're guaranteed a 6% dividend annually.
Yeah.
So they're also investors, but in a different method.
Well, we've seen in our history where investment banks, Morgan Chase, and so on, have. When they're not guaranteed, or they're not supposed to be guaranteed protection like we do for depositors protection. However, we've had our elitists have bailed them out when they have failed in their endeavors.
They labeled them too big to fail, which means that they're too big to exist because they're too large of a threat to our economy.
Yeah.
They need to be broken up into smaller portions. If this bank collapses today and our entire country economic system is under threat, then that bank has too much power and control in the system. But I wanted to go back and kind of break this down onto a much simpler level than the just what money is supposed to be and what it actually is today is one of the biggest problems we have. Money came into an existence shortly after to replace bartering. If I have a cow and you have chicken, you want to give me a chicken for a steak. Well, I don't want to slaughter this cow to sell you a big roast in exchange for that chicken. So you can't give me that chicken. I can't do it right now. But if I by the time I go to slaughter the cow, your chickens you may sold them somewhere. So what they did was they made money to replace the bartering system. And the first money may have been, I don't know, rocks, whatever, but eventually it advanced to the point to where silver and gold were used as currency. Spain, the California gold rush is a perfect example. If you go to a bar, you give them a pinch of gold for a beer. And of course, we had other monetary systems at that time. So basically, your money is backed by some kind of commodity or resource that has a value, and that's what gives your money value.
Yeah.
So, sorry, phone call. So there's actually something solid, a solid foundation behind it. But since the establishment of the Federal Reserve Bank and its progression has led to removal of any kind of commodity backing our currency, and they say there's too much currency out there to do it. Well, then then there's something wrong with the money supply.
Yeah.
You know, if I have go to the bank to get a loan, it's going to be secured by some kind of asset. But the money they give me is secured by nothing. So, you know, there's a huge difference in the way that the fundamental way that the system works. You know, you have property, your money, you work, you perform labors, you get money, that's your property.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your money isn't worth anything other than what the promise of the Federal Reserve Bank. It doesn't say it's a silver certificate. It says Federal Reserve note. Completely different. One is based on sound finance principles, and the other is based on thin air. And it's insane that people will trust the thin air system and ignore having an actual something of value behind the property that you receive.
That's very true.
Really the most basic economic standpoint. You know, when you start expanding into these other ideas, you know, for the banking industry and so forth, and start complicating it, is really where they start putting in these loopholes and the changes. Okay, we got trillionaires today, so we can't go back on the gold standard because we don't have enough gold to cover the currency.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your currency may not be worth what you want it to be when it goes back on the gold standard, but it'll still have a value if it's based on that. You know,
True.
you might get $1,600 an ounce or $40 an ounce for silver instead of $1 per ounce of silver. If we can buy the commodity on the open market, then we can obviously put a value on it and use it to back our currency.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's.
Really, I mean, it's so simple and basic, and people don't understand or don't care to understand. I don't know. I wish I
care
could
to understand it.
Was
more, precise.
You're very low volume.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say we're gonna come right back with a short intermission. If you can just wait just one moment.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. Be the someone who gives their time. Be the someone who lends an ear. Be the someone who takes a step. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN, asking you to join the fight against sexual violence and volunteer in your community. Log on to RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org, to learn how you can be the someone.
This message brought to you by the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network and this station.
Okay, hopefully we've worked on the thing. See if I can bring Jeff back here. Jeff, I don't have not being able to pick up your audio and your visual. I don't know if you've got something that came out on that. See if I do that. See if we can. Okay. So like I was saying, we're having a lot of little issues here today. And now that we've been kind of establishing some of the problems that we've had with the understanding, people's lack of understanding, or the understanding of the monetary system, the value system that comes through. You'll hear people wanting to go back to the gold standard. We don't necessarily have to go back to necessarily a gold standard, especially if we have to store the gold in Fort Knox and so on, if that becomes a difficulty. But there are ways to create value for just value for value. And that's something that's been done with cryptocurrency, for instance. So these are things that are solutions that you can. And when I say cryptocurrency, I am just talking to let people know how we can establish value for money. You don't have to use a precious commodity necessarily to string together to a coin, because when we're talking value to value, we're talking cows to pork bellies to all these other things. We've got the technology now to be able to track what the things are of value at the times. And proof of course, is right there in Chicago with the Mercantile Exchange. That's how they established the value of things from pork bellies to orange juice. So anyway, I'm glad you're back.
Thank you. Sorry. I wanted to switch to a little bit more of a little different topic on this as to the reason why the government and the bank would actually prefer the system we have today over what was in existence before. And I mentioned that the banks have, the central bank has the ability to control when the stock market crashes and rises. The other thing is that the government went more of a progressive liberal social standpoint and started implementing social programs and not necessarily Social Security, because that's, we pay into that, but the welfare system and so forth grew substantially. So the revenue that was offered from tariffs wasn't sufficient to run the government anymore, and they doubled the tariffs in order to generate more revenue, which obviously the importers didn't like. The countries that we exported to increased tariff. Big tariff war started, and so they couldn't maintain the tariffs and maintain trade. So they needed another way to generate revenue, and they decided that they would start the income taxes. And when they started income taxes in perpetuity, is the same time they started the Federal Reserve Bank.
Yeah, that income taxes came about during the World Wars, I believe.
And perpetuity in 1913 at a guaranteed maximum rate of 3%.
Okay.
It got into the 70s and 80% in the 70s, 60s. The main reason for that was because it wasn't until 1955 that income taxes replaced tariffs as the main source of income. And, obviously that works so as well as the 30% tariffs, because obviously they've reduced income taxes significantly from that time because of the poor economic results. If you look at what we had before, there may be other means of producing the same, but it's still based on the same, through Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, as you were mentioning. But the basis for that still remains more of a sound accounting. There is something backing it in some, we could argue that and have talked about it a little bit here and there, but there is at least something behind it, and it is at least a challenge to the Federal Reserve Bank's dominance in the monetary system.
Sure.
So it's not based on the voodoo economics of you give us money, we'll give you we'll give you Bitcoins, but there's nothing backing it except for our word that it's worth something. The Federal Reserve Bank doesn't really produce, so their word is our labor.
Yeah,
that's another form of theft of property.
We don't have. There's no ledger that's created with the Fed in establishing the value. We just can see what the trade is to other world currencies, but which is, I guess, the same thing as Bitcoin or any of those other cryptocurrencies too, because we get to see their value compared to another currency.
Bitcoin, actually, you have to solve a complex mathematical equation. They call it mining. Only for
the miners. Okay. The miners, a lot of people don't understand. The miners,
the Federal
all
Reserve,
they do. Go ahead.
The Federal Reserve Bank only has to sell treasury bills or print it out of thin air with no backing,
right?
Without even solving a mathematical equation other than we need more money. And every time they print this funny money, it devalues what you have in your pocket. Those $1,200 checks they sent to every American were $22 trillion in debt. They created $3+ trillion out of thin air and sent it to us. So when we went to spend it, what we were able to buy cost more. Our dollar went less far.
Yeah.
So their system is based on zero.
Let me explain to people when you're talking about solving the equation. What it is that you'll, as a miner, you'll be presented with first you get to choose or grab a transaction. That's the first thing, is the transaction. That person A wants to buy from person B. And so they have agreed to exchange this pair of roller skates for a virtual coin. Now, to put that into the ledger, they have to have 3 miners go ahead and verify that that transaction before it
That's
goes
still different
through.
what I'm talking about here. Well, I'm talking
Yeah.
about actually
So, well, I just
getting
want to
a
explain to people who are watching that to be one of the 3 miners, you have to solve the equation in order to get in there and then do the verification. Once you do that, then you're rewarded, like we were saying, you're rewarded a portion of that transaction, and it goes into your Bitcoin bank, et cetera, et cetera. Because some people think that the miners themselves actually create the value, and it's not. It's the people trading that are trying to create the value.
that may be, but the process of mining involves energy.
Yes, yes.
It's so expensive to mine a Bitcoin today that if you don't have a solar farm, the electrical costs exceed the value of the coin. So
Right.
there are costs associated with it other than its value during the transaction. And
Right.
the process of mining by solving the equations to create a new there were 0 Bitcoins in existence. Guy solved the
Right.
mathematical equation, all of a sudden there was 1 in existence.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else solved, now there's 2. And there is
Well,
a cap on the number that can be created. So
actually,
that's the way
it would have been 6. It would have been 3 and then 6.
well,
Because it takes
okay,
3 miners for 1 transaction. Yeah.
but the process is I haven't personally never mined one, but the process is basically for them to come into existence requires energy and a computer and math solving skills.
Yeah.
And that's
And then,
where their original value came from.
And the people that want to get into this cryptocurrency, probably they couldn't, like you were saying, they couldn't do Bitcoin because it's too large now, but they'd have to find another cryptocurrency that is beginning so that they could enter into that mining on the lower scales and so on, and build it up. And now there are just tens of thousands of virtual currencies that are out there.
And another thing to consider so far as the value of Bitcoin is that the reason that it shot up so fast is it was actually allowed to be traded on the markets.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, it really didn't have as much value.
Right.
So there are several factors. You're still looking at in the end, you're looking at something that I can take a Bitcoin and I can go get a chicken, or I could go buy, but I can't go. It still doesn't have gold or anything sitting behind it. When I get that Bitcoin, there's nothing physical backing it.
No, there's nothing physical. Just just history is
Correct.
all that it's got. Yeah. So
Correct.
it's got an artificial value to
Right.
it. I was going to check out here. Some people are, kind of curious. Let me see. 1 Bitcoin is worth $18,416.66 as of this second. And
Right.
I get this. People say, "How do you figure this out?" It's just a little thing. It's called Cash App, and anybody can get it. And with Cash App, you can get a percentage. You can purchase Bitcoin for a percentage, and also little stocks and things like that. It's real interesting. So if people are very interested in what we're talking about, and all these things, you could go ahead and download the application and so on, and play with it a little bit, explore. Mm-hmm.
With there being a limited number of Bitcoins that will ever be produced, there is a cap to it.
Yeah.
Then it will continue to have value and rise so long as it maintains popularity as a form of money.
Yeah.
If it
It's
ever
interesting to
if
watch
something
it.
else ever comes along, it may actually, it may fall into zero and disappear one day. Something else more popular comes along. So,
Sure.
as long as I have a physical silver note and the country maintains the silver behind it, I'll always be able to take that and get something for it.
Right.
So
Right.
there is Bitcoin is great for the fact that it does offer alternatives, but again, you just have to realize that it's basically unsecured with any kind of asset, and that's the one
And
drawback to it. And it's based
yeah,
on popularity, and
and quite honestly, it's just a fiat money, just like we
Mhm.
have with the dollar bill today. And
No,
I think that's what people don't really understand. The dollar bill is not backed up by any um, by any uh, precious
you
metals
can't.
or anything else.
The government is not holding, and or the Federal Reserve Bank is holding anything to back this money on. It doesn't, like I said, it's not called a silver note anymore. Used to
Nope.
be able to have if you got a silver note from the government, you could take it to the bank and get a piece of silver for it.
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay.
correct.
Today, even the silver is considered a commodity and not a currency. So I can
Mm-hmm.
buy stocks, but these are mostly from private companies, and there's a whole lot more paper out there than there is actual silver.
Yeah.
So even when they did that, the commodity itself has been destroyed so far as being able to hold a piece of paper against it. If you're going to try to hold anything, if you think that we're going to see the value of the dollars drop and the value of silver and gold rise, then you want to hold actual physical silver. You don't want to hold a stock or a certificate of any kind.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, well, we've come up, another 15 minutes has passed. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to run another little PSA, and we'll be right back.
Braxton was diagnosed with choroid plexus carcinoma, a brain tumor. St. Jude is helping us put away our fears. We have an amazing team that fights for the best outcome for Braxton. He has the best chance here. I don't have to worry that how much is that bag of fluid going to cost me? Can I afford it to save my child's life? The donations, they're paying for me to live every day with my son, be stress-free, and enjoy every day with him. I wish there was a word bigger than thank you, more close to the heart, because thank you's not enough. They've given me hope. They've given me my son.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Okay, welcome back. Whoops, I think I've lost Jeff again. We're just going to be wrapping up, I think, right now. Sorry, again, for all the technical difficulties that we've been coming across a little bit lately. Things have kind of calmed down here in my little neighborhood, though. That's always good news. And my little puppy has also been behaving herself very well for this program, so that's always a delight. I just want to remind people that on the 19th, we're going to be having our Christmas, New Year's, end of year 2020 recap show, so it should be enjoyable. I'm hoping to have a few surprises. I know it's been a very difficult year for a lot of us to go through, and we're going to try to recap that a little bit. Also, look forward to the weird and wacky, wonderful 2021 we should have if these Democrats do take over in the White House. Their shenanigans and weirdness and bizarre behavior, strange, trying to get our redistribution of funds, all their social junk that they're not going to be able to pass is going to be absolutely hilarious. So those are the things we're going to be able to discuss coming up in the year coming up. So
I assume you were mentioning the large number of competitors for Bitcoin and how there are going to be several that are junk.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's already some that have gone by the wayside. They appeared and disappeared as quickly as they showed up. But
You got to
some of them
understand,
have stuck. Yeah.
and that's no different than what we get in our other money supply. There's like
Hmm.
forex trading is pretty much of a scam, in my opinion, and many others would agree, where you're trading money values of the currency between different countries.
Countries. Hmm.
Yeah, but it's done in such a way as to where forex makes the money, not the people. So
That's
there's
yeah.
going to be, especially when you're talking about private currency. And my big concern is, even though this is all based on popularity, voluntarism, we're going to end up maybe with a valueless dollar and a private currency that's got value. It will be sold my soul to the company store.
Yeah.
Possible. That's
Yeah.
the issue. That's why you still need to have a secure, valuable currency produced by the country.
Well, I was watching a program the other day where these statists are hoping and praying that we just have a worldwide credit system where we don't have any money at all. It's all virtual, and it's you have credits and you exchange your credits. And what's scary about that is that China has uh, a kind of a credit system based on your how you behave. It's kind of a
Social
behavioral.
credit score.
So there we go. Social credit
Yes.
score, which is
Yes.
scary indeed because it has monetary implications in China, communist China. You're not
And
able to do certain travels or things like that.
okay, I've done a little research into this, and unfortunately, I overanalyze everything, but I enjoy it
Yeah.
anyway. Um, Basically, you go to the grocery store and you buy too much beer, your social credit score is low.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond your own actions well, I'd say that to a certain extent. Let's say you friend someone on social media who has a low that's good social score. That is actually going to affect yours as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it affects not only travel, but access to maybe a telephone. If your social score is too low, they don't even have a telephone.
Yeah.
So it is scary. It requires a mass surveillance system. Their facial recognition software and the number of cameras in China is insane.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only one city in the top 10 most surveilled in the world that's not in China, and that's Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, I thought it
We've got
was London. Okay.
No, it's Atlanta, Georgia. We've got 880 cameras here in Myrtle Beach watching our every move without
Mhm.
us, without any reasonable articulable suspicion or probable cause. Now, I
Yeah.
understand the concept of no expectation of privacy in public, but I also understand the concept of the Fourth Amendment. I'm guaranteed privacy from government without a warrant or writ. Why are they surveilling us, walking down the street doing nothing wrong? Next
True.
comes the facial recognition software, which they don't use, but they also have these federal fusion centers they can send it to, and they have facial recognition software they use.
Yeah.
And a big fusion center where they're making reports on us. So what you're seeing
Mhm.
in China is coming this way. The foundation for it is here.
Well, yeah. It's the dream of all those people that want, that are cheering what they're doing on YouTube and Twitter and all those other social media companies and trying to cancel people that they disagree with. They think that that's a wonderful thing. These social justice warriors, but as soon as they get affected themselves, they're going to see what the people in the liberty movement have been warning them for many, many years.
And the founders warned them too. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a few quotes I wanted to throw out here. I know we're at 40 minutes. If I could throw out a couple. The first
Sure.
one would be paraphrased. I don't have a photographic memory. I do have a pretty good one, but it's not photographic.
Mhm.
A wise and frugal government prevents individuals from harming one another, and otherwise leaves them alone to pursue their own industry and happiness. And that is the sum of good government, according to Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
In order to have these social programs, you have to covet what other people have, say they've got too much and these have got too little, and then you actually have to steal from those people. I believe it was Adams that said that if don't covet and don't steal weren't precepts of heavens, then they must be written into the law of any civilized society. What we have with our fake economic system is coveting, thievery, redistribution of wealth. If you kept what they took from you, you would be able to live a better life, have better your children would have better opportunities, and you would have enough left over to help other people see the same goals.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. Community. Yeah. And
Two more. When people realize they can vote themselves money, it will herald the end of the republic. And that's what's happening now.
Oh, yeah.
Hamilton said he couldn't find anywhere in the Constitution where it says they owed any kind of help to people, financial help to people who were requesting it. There's nothing in the Constitution that says you have a right to other people's money or property, or even from the money from the government because you're in some kind of need.
No. And here in Myrtle Beach locally, it just harkens me back to when they were able to pass the Tourism Development Fund, the TDF, and they knew it wouldn't pass to have an additional tax unless they leapt onto it, that a percentage of that collected money was going to be paying for the property taxes of the folks in the dunes and around the area that have their homes here.
Heralded the end of the republic by voting themselves money.
Absolutely.
And I believe there was a nice new post either from the mayor of the city this morning about a $600,000 grant program for the suffering small businesses in the area. And what people fail to understand about this part of it, it's your tax money given to the federal government, then given to the state, and then back to you.
Yeah.
When you're suffering because of what they did to you, you're not suffering because of your mismanagement, no demand for your product. This is a forced closure, and they're taking your dollar, printing more out of thin air, devaluing it, giving it back to you, but minus all the overhead and cost. Leave it in my pocket in the first place. Let me let me decide how I want to live my life and spend my money. Let me give the Samaritan's Purse that 100% of the money received go to charity. What, 10 cents off of every dollar probably makes it through these social programs? You go to this Social Security Administration in Conway, was an old, small, one-story rundown building. They now have a multi-million-dollar modern building with vaulted ceilings. You don't need vaulted ceilings. When those guys retire, they are going to live better than the Social Security recipients that they're representing today.
Well, and it's also a good cover-up for the mismanagement of the city that has created a debt of $200 million plus compared to our sister city to the north, Myrtle Beach, which has a $7 million debt. I hearken back to these idiots that were running for city council that were talking about good debt. And of course, those good debt people were involved in banking and in real estate. They're idiots. Now they had a lack of funds that were generated from taxes because of 2020. And so what did they have to do? They had to dump one of their real estate holdings, which they never should have had to begin with. That was the worth was supposed to be somewhere between 80
25%. Yeah, 25% more than they sold it for at least.
Yeah, 87 million, and they sold it for 60.
Exactly.
And it never went up for public sale; it went for a private sale. Yeah, so they chose who they were going to sell it to, and the value of that was going to be.
And by having it in the open market with the demand for that, especially for a tract that size, They possibly could have gotten higher than the actual quote value, or estimated retail value.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
it's not only that, but this money that we're in debt to, and these bonds that were issued, they're supposedly secured in some way. Well,
Mhm.
if you go in debt to build a baseball field that loses money, then you can't say that in 10, 15 years you're going to be able to generate the revenue to pay off these bonds. The
Correct.
convention center loses money. They don't
Yeah.
have these. They're estimating revenue generation. Well, we're going to take a loan for 20 years, and over the next 20 years, we're going to make this much off of the investment, and they're losing on the investment and telling
Yeah.
us that it's still secured.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
telling us that only 20 million is our responsibility. Where's the other 100 million going to come, or 200 million going to come from their pockets?
Yeah.
They're
Well, they always,
personally liable. Who's
yeah.
liable for that money? It's us.
That
Period.
exactly. And it eventually it's going to come back to, it's going to hit people that are property owners. So it's going to hit them right where the property taxes are. All these retirees that are coming into this area are going to get killed. They're going to get absolutely murdered with the future taxes that are going to be going when their millage rates skyrocket. Absolutely
South Carolina.
skyrocket.
So we have the federal government mismanaging the monetary system and misappropriating the funds on welfare that's only growing and not solving problems. We have these counties and cities, many of them, not all, doing the same thing. And we're in a Republican state's been Republican for 40 plus years. Yet all we've ever seen is more legislature and income taxes increase and debt increase. So it's a big problem on the federal level. But since that's the system that they operate under, that's the system that many of the states are going to adopt and have to use and follow, and the cities as well. They're all generating debt. Where every state's in debt. Almost every city, if not every city's in debt. The federal government's in debt. And the currency that's all based on is nothing but thin air and a promise, and that promise is on our labor and our backs.
Very true. Very true.
It's a terrible, terrible situation.
All right.
Even if you improve economically and change all of this stuff, if you continue with the same thought process regarding the helping other people that are needy, you can have a strong economic growth and waste the money on programs that don't produce results and still not have any improvement. So it's, in order to actually improve the monetary system, we have to change the structure of the social system as well.
Very true. Very true. Well, on that note, I think we're going to conclude today's show. We thank everybody that's been able to come in. We've had at least one like that's come through. I want to thank the viewers that have come in. We haven't had any comments in today's show, but any people that are watching, feel free to, if you're watching the rebroadcast, we went ahead and put our info at porcupinepundit.com email there. You can get a hold of us through that info at Porcupine Pundit, and we'll be able to address any of the things that you have in the future. And again, I want to remind people to join us next week's show. It's going to be a lighter show. We're going to have a little bit of fun. It's going to be our Christmas, New Year's, and 2020 recap all in one. And hopefully we'll be able to get some surprises.
I'd like to throw a quick message in there for the liberals who may run across this. If you think that greed is solely linked to the capital system, free market, then you're completely wrong. I will give you credit for saying that businesses can be greedy. They're not beholden to any country. They're beholden to their stockholders. These are issues that you end up with, you're too big to fail and they must be broken up kind of things. And I can agree with that part of it. But in the end, you got to understand the federal government's the largest, greediest corporation in America and the largest employer in America with the most trillion. Nobody else has $24 trillion a year to play around with. $200 trillion they can go in debt. They would be out of business by now. So if you think government's the solution, you're wrong. It's a big, greedy corporation, and it's the biggest part of the problem.
Absolutely. And speaking of greediness, we invite people. We're going to run that at the end to be able to, yeah, to buy some of our swag, to support us in any way, shape, or form. We'd love that as a Christmas gift to get some of your monies to come in here, so we could do some more wonderful things here in the coming year. And
we will happily accept your fiat currency in exchange for actual goods.
That's true. That's true. All right. On that note, you take care. I'll see you next week for our Christmas show. Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. If you enjoy these podcasts, please press like, subscribe, and then share them with your friends. We would greatly appreciate any financial support you can give us. Go to porcupinepundit.com and become a patron or a supporter. You can also buy stuff from us at our Freedom Swag shop.